Vijitaste picha bhajatam akamatmanam yat atmadokti karunam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. Chitraketu said, O conquerable Lord, although you cannot be conquered by anyone, you are certainly conquered by devotees who have control of the mind and senses. They can keep you under their control because you are causelessly merciful to devotees who desire no material profit from you. Indeed, you give yourself to them, and because of this, you also have full control over your devotees. Purport. The Lord and the devotees both conquer. The Lord is conquered by the devotees, and the devotees are conquered by the Lord. Because of being conquered by one another, they both derive transcendental bliss from their relationship. The highest perfection of this mutual conquering is exhibited by Krishna and the gopis. The gopis conquered Krishna and Krishna conquered the gopis. Thus, whenever Krishna played his flute, he conquered the minds of the gopis, and without seeing the gopis, Krishna could not be happy. Other transcendentalists, such as Jnanis and Yogis, cannot conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only pure devotees can conquer him. Pure devotees are described as samamati, which means that they never deviate from devotional service under any circumstances. It is not that devotees worship the Supreme Lord only when happy. They worship him even when in distress. Happiness and distress do not hamper the process of devotional service. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam says that devotional service is ahaituki apratihata, unmotivated and uninterrupted. When a devotee offers devotional service to the Lord without any motive, anya bilashita sunyam, his service cannot be hampered by any material condition, apratihata. Thus, a devotee who offers service in all conditions of life can conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A special distinction between devotees and the other transcendentalists, namely Jnanis and Yogis, is that Jnanis and Yogis artificially try to become one with the Supreme, whereas devotees never aspire for such an impossible accomplishment. Devotees know that their position is to be eternally servants of the Supreme Lord and never to be one with him. Therefore, they are called Samamati or Jitatma. They detest oneness with the Supreme. They have no lusty desires for oneness. Instead, their desire is to be freed from all material hankering. Therefore, they are called Nishkama, desireless. A living entity cannot exist without desires. But desires that can never be fulfilled are called Kama, lusty desires. Kamais taistair hrita jnana. Because of lusty desires, non-devotees are deprived of their intelligence. Thus, they are unable to conquer the Supreme Lord, whereas devotees, being freed from such unreasonable desires, can conquer the Lord. Such devotees are also conquered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are pure, being free from all material desires. They fully surrender to the Supreme Lord, and therefore the Lord conquers them. Such devotees never aspire for liberation. They simply desire to serve the lotus feet of the Lord because they serve the Lord without desires for remuneration. They can conquer the mercy of the Lord. The Lord is by nature very merciful, and when he sees that his servant is working without desires for material profit, naturally he is conquered. Devotees are always engaged in service. Savai mana Krishna padhara vindayor vachamsi vaikunta gunanu varnane. All the activities of their senses are engaged in the service of the Lord. Because of such devotion, the Lord gives himself to his devotees as if they could use him for any purpose they might desire. Of course, devotees have no purpose other than to serve. When a devotee fully surrenders and has no aspiration for material profit, the Lord certainly gives him all opportunities for service. This is the position of the Lord when conquered by his devotees. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakayam Chakshurun Militam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham Namaham Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Chitraketuruvacha Ajita Jita Samamati Bihi Sadhu Bir Bhavan Jitatma Bir Bhavatam Vijitaste Picha Bhajatam Akamatam Ya Atmatoti Karunaham. Chitraketu said, O unconquerable Lord, although you cannot be conquered by anyone, you are certainly conquered by devotees who have control of the mind and senses. They can keep you under their control because you are causelessly merciful to devotees who desire no material profit from you. Indeed, you give yourself to them, and because of this, you also have full control over your devotees. The context here is, after the recommendation given by Narada Muni advised King Chitraketu and gave a mantra. Chanting that mantra, Chitraketu was going to see the lotus feet of Lord Sankarshana. So, after Chitraketu finished his prayers, he is able to see, he just got to see the Supreme Lord. Narada became spiritual master Chitraketu, instructed him fully about the prayer because Chitraketu was a surrendered soul. He fasted from everything, drinking only water. For 1 week continuously, Chitraketu chanted with great care and attention the mantra Narada Muni gave. After one week of repeatedly practicing the mantra that Narada Muni gave, Chitraketu achieved what is something which is very, very unique. Chitraketu achieved the shelter of the lotus feet of Anantadeva, Lord Sankarshana. As soon as Chitraketu saw the Supreme Lord, he was completely cleansed of all material contamination and he got situated in his original transcendental state. As obvious it is, when someone get an audience with the Supreme Lord, it's but natural for one to get in emotional. So Chitraketu started to express his love for the Supreme Lord by shedding tears of love and affection. And it took some time for him to get into the composure because his voice was choked up. He was fully in transcendental bliss. And after him stabilizing himself, he's starting to speak, address to Lord Sankarshana. So the verse that we just read today is the first verse that he spoke glorifying Lord Sankarshana. So this glorification is going to teach a lot of lessons. In fact, from verse number 34 all the way till verse number 42, Chitraketu is going to offer so many glorifications about the Supreme Lord. It is but natural that when we see the Supreme Lord first, it is imperative, important that we glorify the Supreme Lord, offer our prayers, surrender unto his lotus feet. And that's exactly what King Chitraketu did. So after hearing Chitraketu's prayer, in fact, he went all the way till shloka number 48. Then Lord Sankarshana speaks. So today we'll only see the first verse, verse number 34. And subsequently all the verses are also glorification of Ananta Sesha, Sankarishna by King Chitraketu. Many a times we see in Srimad Bhagavatam such glorifications, and we need to know that these glorifications are nothing but learnings for us to develop our attachment and love for Krishna. When we are in distressed state of mind, we will not know how to express ourselves. Because when we are in distressed state of mind, our entire thought process is centered around our needs. We constantly desire for what we are bereft of. When we are in a very happy state of mind, that time also we are not able to express ourselves properly. Because in a very happy state of mind, we are completely intoxicated with our happiness. Only when we reach a very helpless state, we reach the Supreme Lord, or only when we are enlightened by a self-realized devotee, we seek the Supreme Lord. That is why the Supreme Lord tries to see any one of the situation is given to us. Either he gives us, pushes to the extreme where we become helpless, but for surrendering to the Supreme Lord, or he tries to provide enlightenment by sending us self-realized souls with whose association we are able to seek, we are able to approach, we are able to surrender to the Supreme Lord. In case of Chitraketu, he was pushed to a completely helpless state when he lost Harsha Shoka, and then eventually Narada Muni's audience helped him to seek the attention, the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So an intelligent person is the one who does not wait for himself to be pushed to the extreme helpless state. Rather, he will grab the opportunity when he gets an audience with self-realized soul. So we are going to discuss this verse number 34 through some sets of reflections. In the entire purport, Srila Prabhupada is narrating about two sets of people. One is about those who are selfless, having no desire for profits, having no desire for self-enjoyment, and they are always eager to glorify the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada is also talking about those whose intelligence is swayed away by lusty desires. So we will also discuss through this sets of reflections these two sets of devotees, or these two sets of people. So the devotees, by the virtue of them not having any personal agenda, just by the virtue of them having their heart free from any amount of personal profit and personal interest, they naturally are attracted by the Supreme Lord. By the design, we are the Supreme Lord's children. By design, the soul is Sat Chit Ananda. By design, we are clean. But because of our association with matter, because of our association with sense gratificatory things, our consciousness gets polluted and we desire for things which we are not supposed to desire. When Indra was cursed to become a hog, Indra totally forgot his position as being the king of heaven. And he was simply enjoying his time with his family in the filthy place. As a hog, he totally forgot his superior lifestyle. Even after Brahma coming and reminding him, for some time, he was arguing with Brahma, saying that what's wrong in what I am doing? I am happy with my family, children, and the arrangement that I am having. Till his blinded intelligence were to be cleared off. So my first reflection is that if we are somehow choosing to be part of Krishna's family, even though we may have some past and some previous conditioning, we will still be accepted and eventually taken forward, rather than choosing not to be part of Krishna's family. Krishna and his dearest devotees are not expecting us to be completely clean and sorted. They know when we are in this material world, we are conditioned. They know when we are in this material world, we have our aspirations. They know when we are in this material world, we have our vasanas because of being here for a long period in time. That is why we are called Nitya Baddhas, eternally conditioned souls. But time and again, Krishna's nature, Krishna's energies are helping us by revealing certain truths about this world. They are telling us how this place is not the place for gentlemen. One of the reasons this human form of life is considered very special and unique opportunity is because In human form of life, there are multiple circumstances where we are put for us to realize that I need to end this cycle of birth and death. This is not the fittest place for gentlemen. I am not supposed to be struggling. Whilst I am choosing to struggle, my father is a very rich man. I am belonging to a very aristocratic family. I am not belonging to this filthy place. I need not die. I need not suffer. I need not take rebirth. I am supposed to be eternally happy. So these realizations, these remembrances are very important, and Krishna provides different circumstances for us to realize this. First class men are those who try to learn from others' sufferings, others' experiences. When somebody else is struggling, suffering, going through some experiences, you should learn to correct your course of life. Only animals, because of their extended attachment towards sense gratificatory things, don't realize what is coming their way. A butcher is trying to take a bunch of goat. The first goat is fed some grass, and all the subsequent goats are fed. And when one goat is taken for the butcher shop and they are chopped off, sometimes in front of the other goats don't realize. Of course, other animals do have some responses to such a horrific, sight. But then in general, animals operate on instinct. But for, they use their intellect for more or less to maintain their existence, to somehow or other survive. But human being is supposed to utilize his intelligence for self-realization, for asking questions, atato brahma jignasa, to come out of this cycle of vicious loop. So my first reflection is that we need to choose at least to be part of Krishna's family, even though we may be in the queue, in the very last person in the queue. But just being part of Krishna's family, it is safe, wiser, and definitely going to be happier than the other line. Even though apparently the other line may be seen externally a better place for us to be. So those who choose to be part of Krishna's family, just by that decision, Krishna is kind towards them. Just by our acceptance to obey Krishna, just by our choice of being the family of Vasudeva, not only Krishna, other elderly members, other accomplished members, other kind members, other enthusiastic members are ready to extend their support so that our journey in Krishna's family is happier and it is very much sustainable, and we are able to see our progress with our very own eyes. It is important to know that Kali, in the garb of different alluring, attracting things, try to misguide us. One of the agenda of Kali is to come and tell how this place is a very enjoyable, wonderful place. By trying to victimize, trying to attack on our weak spot, For someone, weak spot may be in his eating. Someone's weak spot may be in his sexual desires. Someone's weak spot may be in money, power, position, knowledge, strength, wealth. So, Kali keeps on searching for our weak spots and try to attack us. Reflection is those who choose to be a devotee by being part of Krishna's family is an intelligent one. Prabhupada writes in this entire purport not only about those who are part of sense gratificatory agenda, but he is also referring to about other jnanis and other yogis, those who do not understand what it means to be part of Krishna's family. So, to conclude my first reflection, I would like to say, let's be part of Krishna's family by choosing to obey, choosing to worship, choosing to glorify, choosing to serve Krishna and his family members. The second reflection is about the prayer that King Chitraketu is offering to Sankarishna here. He is calling the Lord as Ajita. Ajita Jita Samamati Bihi. You are Ajita, but you are conquered by your devotees and your devotees are conquered by you. This is a wonderful glorification. So when we are part of Krishna's family, when we are agreeing to obey, glorify, serve the Supreme Lord, we conquer Krishna's heart, and Krishna conquers our heart. This conquering, counter-conquering, conquering, counter-conquering, this keeps building up. And this build-up, this agenda of conquering and counter-conquering is so wonderful that Krishna at one point in time give full control to his devotees, and devotee at some point in time give full control to Krishna. It is very difficult for us to give full control of ourselves to anyone. We are suffering in this material world because we want to be the controller. We are struggling in this material world because of the propensity of we wanting to be the master. Boss, anu boss, anu boss, anu boss. I want to boss over everyone. But Krishna consciousness is das, anu das, anu das, anu das. One is going towards the Lord's lotus feet. Another is thinking that I am the controller. But as it is explained in the prayer by Raja Chitraketu, that once we are in the frame of Krishna's family, the conquering and counter-conquering agenda comes up to the point of relinquishing full control to the Supreme Lord and taking full control of the Supreme Lord. So when Chitraketu is saying you are Ajita, nobody can win you, and we have always known this. Rake Krishna mare ke, mare Krishna rake ke. If Krishna wants to kill someone, no one can save. If Krishna wants to save someone, no one can kill. So by anyone's intelligence, we can't win Krishna. So that way he is Ajita. But by one's heart, we can always win Krishna. And that is what a Vaishnava know. So as a second reflection, I want to say here that how are we able to win the Supreme Lord and get full control of him? It's nothing but relinquishing our mind and sense gratification and handing that to the Supreme Lord and making sure that the Lord's desire, making sure that whatever the Lord is wishing happens to be that I wish. Time is the controlling factor. So long as we are under the influence of time, we will remain in this material world. And anything material is under the control of time. It has beginning and end. But anything spiritual is under the control of the Lord. It does not change due to our situations, due to any circumstances. That is why devotees are called Jitatma or Samamati, equipoised. That which is material in nature, that which is having materialistic properties, they tend to change because of time. As the time progresses, all that we have thought as permanent are going to change. Those who are party to materialistic family, those who are not part of Krishna's family, they think their strength, their knowledge, their beauty, their intelligence, their fame are going to be permanent and they are going to have them eternally. All the Asuras, Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, all the Asuric personalities, they were with that pride, with that ahankar, thinking that whatever I am possessing now is going to be eternally there with me. But they knew nothing about time coming their way. That is why Krishna says, I am in Bhagavad Gita. I am Kala. For those devotees, I am available to them eternally. But for those who don't surrender and agree to me, I am available to them as death personified. As time, I keep threatening them. And at the time of death, they cannot deny my existence. But unfortunately, that will be too late for them to realize about me. So, the reflection here is that by being part of Krishna's family, we are definitely going to have a special consideration from the Supreme Lord. That is why Prabhupada is referring about Gopis' love for Krishna and Krishna's love for Gopis. Gopis' love for Krishna is uncomparable. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used their love as devotional benchmarking. Gopi Bharta Pada Kamalayor, Dasa, 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 Anudasa. So, the love for Gopis from Krishna, the love for Krishna from Gopis are considered as epitome of love. such a love, such a exchanges are not seen in this material world. So that is why acharyas in their prayers, they are expressing their desire to have constant association of the Supreme Lord. Even in Siksashtakam prayer, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expresses Yugaitam Nimeshena Chakshusha Pravrishaitam Sunyaitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahename. Acharya's prayers have always been not to waste even 1 second of their life, because one moment is like 12 years. One moment of separation from Krishna is like 12 long years. So that is why Tukaram Maharaj, in one of the Abhang, he is offering a very wonderful prayer. In that prayer, he is saying, Anika dusare Madanam himatam Nemelayarchita Basuniyam Panduranga Dhyanim Pandurangamanim Jakritim Swapnim Panduranga Patilem Valanam Indriyam Sakalam Bhavato Nirala Nahim Tujam Dukamane Netrim Kelikona Karnam Katastate Dhyanam Vitevarim. Tukaram Maharaj in his Abhang is singing that Anika Dusare. My dear Lord, please make sure that my life is filled with your thoughts. I am able to remember your pastimes. I am able to remember your wonderful, glorious, transcendental, loving face. Every part of my Indriya, may they be worshipping you, glorifying you, serving you. Indriyam Sakalam. I have decided that from now on, Lord Vittal will be in my consciousness. I have made up my mind. Anika Dusare. I have made up my mind. So instead of being follower of one's mind, his own mind, Tukaram Maharaj is expressing, I am taming my mind. I am regulating my mind. Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport, a special distinction between devotees and the other transcendentalists, namely Jnanis and Yogis, is that Jnanis and Yogis artificially try to become one with the Supreme, whereas devotees never aspire for such an impossible accomplishment. They just simply love the Lord and they just simply desire. They are trying to go on work within themselves, fix their quotients, and naturally the Lord gets attracted. So to conclude my second reflection, I want to say that by being part of Krishna's family, we are able to experience the glory of Ajita, where the unconquerable Lord is conquered by our love, and to those whom we never give control, we'll end up in giving full control because of that loving exchange. The third and last reflection is about the point that Srila Prabhupada is writing in the purport. He says that desire that can never be fulfilled is called kama, lusty desires. When someone comes under the influence of lusty desire, their intelligence is lost. So those who are party to the other side, not on the side of the Lord's family, it is very clearly explained that because they are embracing lust, because they are desiring lust, because they have kama all over themselves, their intelligence is completely lost. We have seen in the materialistic world, a person works very hard. A person works strenuously to earn a lot of money. In the materialistic world, just for earning money, one goes to any extent. But that hard-earned money, a person is able to give up, spend in no time for lust over women and alcohol. So that money he would have earned over 1 month, 2 months, 5 months, 6 months, 10 months, 1 year, he would simply spend them in one night in a bar or a party or in some sort of a reckless place. And all the more important is that a person is ready to spend money, spend time as much as they can if they are going to get position. That is why puja, labha, pratishta, they are all part of one's lusty desires. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that so long as one is victim of one's lusty desires, which can never be fulfilled, it may be noted that when a person is having some desire for some time, one can even at least try to satisfy them. But if this desire is ever increasing, because the nature of the lusty desire is like that, a person's heart is constantly drawn towards lusty desires, then it is a vicious circle, and it is like a quicksand. And one of the reasons why somebody is becoming a victim to the lusty desire is that makes him a controller, that makes him the Lord, that makes him the fully dominant enjoyer, which is exactly what we wanted when we came to this material world. So somehow or other, we need to save ourselves. Somehow or other, we need to relieve ourselves from the clutches of Kali, from the clutches of Maya, and eventually hand us over to the people in Krishna's family. Prabhupada writes, devotees are always engaged in service. Savai mana Krishna padhara vindayor, which means one's mind, the Vaishnava's mind, the devotee's mind is constantly doing rounds in the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Krishna padhara vindayo vachamsi vaikunta gunanu varnane. Because of such devotion, the Lord gives himself to his devotees as if they could use him for any purpose they might desire. Of course, devotees have no purpose other than to serve the Supreme Lord. Hence, when a devotee fully surrenders, he has no aspiration for material profit. The Lord certainly gives him all opportunities to serve. This is the position of Lord when conquered by his devotees. So I would like to conclude my discussion today in this current context of 6th canto, 16th chapter, text number 34, where Raja Chitraketu, after seeing Lord Sankarishna face to face, after becoming emotional, voice getting choked up, finally consolidating himself, coming out of all the emotional situation, he's expressing his heart. And we had 3 reflections. Reflection number 1 is about difference between being part of Krishna's family and vis-a-vis being not part of Krishna's family, and how directly as well as indirectly it is indicated here, both in this verse as well as in the context even before as well as after, wherein it is encouraging each and every practicing devotee to be part of Krishna's family, to enjoy all the benefits of Krishna's family, and it is also Krishna's desire, and that way Krishna is trying regularly to make us part of his family. And the second reflection that we discussed was about the nature of Ajita, one who can conquer Krishna and one who can eventually conquered by Krishna. And these both the states are considered as the state of transcendental happiness. And when one's becoming the person fully under the control of the Lord, he is an absolute transcendental state of happiness. Such a happiness can never be experienced in this material world. And last but not least, one need to learn to keep oneself away from lusty desires, because lusty desires can actually blind our intelligence, and our intelligence will be lost. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So, if there are any questions, we will discuss, otherwise we can end the session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for giving your class, although I'm the only one who is hearing today. It was really nectarian, and I love the way, Prabhuji, you give the class like the small realization. It's really helped us to understand more. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I hope others will also hear the recording.
Thank you so much for being the source for me to engage in Krishna's service. Had you not come, I would have wasted my time somewhere. So thank you for engaging in this service. All glory to Prabhupada.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. I think we can end the call here. Vancha kalpatarubhishya kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, प्रभु जी की जय. प्रभु, थैंक यू सो मच प्रभु जी. हरे कृष्णा. थैंक यू.
Hare Krishna.